Hey everybody, welcome to a new chapter of Old Man Brad. If this is your first time here, Old Man Brad, this is a podcast that I talk all things horror or Tubi, sometimes both, with my Tales from Tubi series that is dedicated just to horror movies on Tubi. I'm excited for this week's episode. This week, we are going to talk all things The Pumpkin Man. This is a movie that started out as a series of shorts. This character started out as a series of shorts, and it evolved into a feature film called The Pumpkin Man, which you can get on Blu-ray DVD right now. It will be out on streaming and digital in the future. I also had the chance to sit down and chat with the director of The Pumpkin Man, Ryan Sheets, and the writer, Janae Muchmore. I'm excited for you guys to hear that. Before we jump into it, I just want to say subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode of Old Man Brad or Tales from Tubi. Make sure you follow along to all of my watches on Letterboxd, letterboxd.com/oldmanbrad. So you can see everything I watch, from the really diamonds in the rough to the bottom of the barrel, bad of the bad. Okay. Let's move into The Pumpkin Man. Cromwell is a town whose history is intertwined with that of a local legend, the Pumpkin Man. Most people don't believe the tales, but when Catherine discovers the missing pieces of the legend, she and her friends will come face to face with the demon of fall, Kerbis. Like I said, it's directed by Ryan Sheets, written by Ryan and Janae Muchmore. This movie is a throwback to old 80s horror movies. This has that feel of a movie that you would have pulled off the shelf in the video store, which, I mean, that was me growing up. I would go to the video store every weekend. I would do cover checks. So you kind of walk the wall and the aisles and just kind of look at the covers of the movies and figure out one that you wanted to watch. Something that catches your eye that you grab. You grab the box art. Like, for instance, I always thought Full Moon Features had great box art, and you would pull it off the shelf and go, oh yes, I'm watching Puppet Master. I'm watching this movie or whatever's in stock, basically, because there were a lot of horror movies that got rented. But the image of the Pumpkin Man, if you see the poster, this is definitely one of those movies that I would have grabbed off the shelf. And that's what kind of hooked me to the film, is the artwork. I first saw the artwork. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to look up what this is. I saw it was a bunch of shorts. So I did watch those short films and reached out to Ryan to see if he wanted to talk about the feature, and he sent me a copy of the film to watch. And I watched the film and I was like taken aback to like those video store days. This is the type of movie that I would have rented back then and sat at home with friends, or just, late on a Friday night, on a weekend night, enjoying it with some cheesy kills. Just like some of these movies, the acting's not the greatest, but it gets you. It's so nostalgic. It's so much fun. I really did enjoy The Pumpkin Man and would recommend checking it out for any fan of like that old cheesy 80s horror movie. This has exactly what you want from it. All right. So let's move into my interview with Ryan and Janae. So we're going to jump over to that interview, go listen to what they have to say, and I will talk to you on the other side. I am here to talk with Ryan Sheets and Janae Muchmore about The Pumpkin Man. I am excited to bring them in to discuss this movie. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad.
Fantastic.
So the first thing I really want to ask you is The Pumpkin Man. He's kind of been with you for a while.
He's been with me for a while.
You started as shorts, and there are multiple short films with the character, and now it's evolved into feature film. How has that evolution kind of through the years gone? Like, has it been, oh, what if we add this a little bit to the lore as we kind of continue on?
This started as a class project when I was in film school. And back then, we were very dumb and didn't do writing very well. And we just were like, I grew up watching all the 80s slasher movies. My dad would take me to Target, and I would find the bargain bin and go digging through for all the old movies. And so when we were in film school, we were like, let's just make a dumb slasher movie.
Okay.
There wasn't much to the character in that first short film, but as we kind of progressed and kept making the short films, because people really seemed to enjoy the campiness of them, we added more and more lore. And then it got to the point where I was like, I don't like this lore anymore. So we were 5 short films in, and then we went for like a 2-year break where we didn't make any Pumpkin Man shorts. And Janae had not worked on any of the shorts prior to the 6th short film. And I was like, I kind of want to try this again and with the way that I feel like it should be done. And I completely reinvented the character, scrapped everything that came before, rebooted the entire thing. Because originally it was just kind of this guy in a mask, and I wanted it to be more like a demon and like more like a monster. I started creating this character named Kerbis, the Pumpkin Man, and now he's unleashed.
This is your first feature film, correct?
Correct.
How was it bringing, jumping from the world of short films to, feature film? I got to make it a little bit longer than 15 to 20-ish minutes now.
It was a struggle to like wrap your head around it to begin with. But I think once we started like writing the script, it just kind of poured out. Like it's such an easy character to write a movie around.
Okay.
Because, I wanted it to be just a big ode to the 80s slasher films that I love so much. And it was like, okay, we have this cool monster, this cool antagonist. What happens around it? Well, obviously people are going to get killed. What are the coolest ways we can kill people? Okay, now we have these cool ways of killing people. Now let's write the story around that. And
well, the writing was the easy part. We finished that in maybe a month and a half. And then the production was the hardest part.
Yeah.
When you film a short and you have 2 locations, you're filming in, 2 days, a couple of hours each day. This was lots of location, lots of people to coordinate. And it was a struggle sometimes to schedule all of that, or we would go in scheduling, certain scenes and be overly ambitious. And we had to learn how to scale back because we weren't just doing one death scene this time. We had about 6 or 7 that we had to really sell for our audience. So it was a challenge. And it took a lot longer. We spent 6 months in the production phase, but then we went back and did some reshoots after we first premiered the movie and kind of took that feedback to heart and wanted to make it better.
And Ryan, you did mention, at the beginning when you started short films, how lighting, that's the one thing I noticed in your feature is the lighting in the movie. I mean, you have a very stark eye with it, the harsh blacks and everything else to kind of keep him in the shadows. And is that's definitely something you learned along the way to make it better. Did you have a cinematographer that worked with you that kind of helped with, creating all this? Yeah.
So our cinematographer, I've known the guy for 5 years, I think.
Okay.
And, he definitely has learned my style as we've made short films together. And, he's watched all of my stuff, and he was able to really just kind of like look at the stuff that I like to shoot and how I like to shoot it. And because this was the first time that I made a movie where I was not behind the camera. So, and the reason I wasn't behind the camera was more because I also play the Pumpkin Man.
Yeah. You were behind the mask, not the camera.
Yeah, I was the man behind the mask, people would say. So he really studied up on, especially the previous Pumpkin Man short films and kind of saw, because one thing that I have always like wanted to make sure I hit home with all the Pumpkin Man movies is that we always film them in some kind of haunted house. And I want to capture that feeling of being in a haunted house. And that's why with a lot of the scenes in the film, you will see these like crazy colors, like purples and greens and, stuff that you just don't typically see when you're lighting a film. If you're trying to make something super scary, you usually, play more with cooler colors and stuff. But because this was in a haunted house, I wanted it to be, very fun and very vibrant, to be a stark contrast to death and murder and all of that.
And this was like it's an actual like area in Florida, correct? The haunted trail, or what's it called?
Yes.
Sir Henry's Haunted Trail.
Okay, that's it. And did you shoot on location at the haunted trail?
Yes, we did. We had about 6 scenes that we filmed there in total.
Okay. And how did they take it? Like, is it one of those you call them and be like, hey, I want to shoot a horror movie at your haunted trail? Like, yeah, sure.
So, this is something that anytime I talk to somebody that like is just getting into filmmaking, that I always tell them, never be afraid to ask, because the worst that someone can say is no.
I've talked to many indie directors, and that's what it is. They're like, we just ask. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, cool, you can shoot here.
Yeah. And what happened was, we had just wrapped the reboot short film, The Pumpkin Man Demon of Fall. And we went to Sir Henry's just because we wanted to go and, check it out, because we love going to haunted houses. They had a character walking around that was wearing the same mask that we used in the short film. I had the poster that we had for that short film as the wallpaper on my phone. So when he came over, I was like, hey, look, it's you. And he was like, wait, what is this? And I was like, we made a short film called The Pumpkin Man. And he was like, the first thing he said was, well, if you ever need a place to shoot, let us know. And I was like, okay,
all right.
I will be emailing you tomorrow.
What is the future for the Pumpkin Man? Will we see more Pumpkin Man? Or are you going to kind of try, move in a different direction, for your next film?
I can tell you that the script for the Pumpkin Man 2 is already written. Okay. And we're going to be promoting this very heavily over the next year, but hopefully sometime next year production on Pumpkin Man 2 will begin. And I am somebody who looks a little farther into the future, and hopefully if all goes well, there will be a Pumpkin Man 3.
And in this, the first one, it was just released. Was it
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, and just disc right now, and then streaming digital and such in the future.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be between 3 to 6 months, I think is what our distributor said, for it to come on digital platforms. But we have VHSs, which I think is really cool.
Where can people follow along with you both and Pumpkin Man and anything that you're doing, and where can they get the Pumpkin Man?
So the best place to follow, all of this is the Pumpkin Man Instagram. That's at Pumpkin Man Film. That's where we kind of do all of our stuff. And
we also have a Facebook page.
We do have a Facebook page, which kind of blew up because we did a reel where Pumpkin Man went to Starbucks and got a pumpkin spice latte, and that blew up on Facebook. How many views? I think it's like 87,000 views.
Yeah.
So right now, strangely enough, even though, everything that I post to Instagram just automatically posts to Facebook, I don't post anything directly to Facebook. That's where we have the most followers. And then the film can be bought at streamteamreleasing.com. And if you go to our profile, our Instagram profile, the link is in our bio.
I want to thank you, Ryan, and Janae for talking to me, and good luck with the Pumpkin Man. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was quite fun. A good, nice throwback to those old 80s movies, and that's what I love. That's what I grew up with. So
yeah.
But hopefully we can have you back again in the future for the whatever you have going next.
Hopefully.
It will be Pumpkin Man 2. I can promise you that.
Again, I want to thank Ryan and Janae for talking to me. It was great talking to them, and I wish them all the best with this movie. Like I said, everybody needs to go check it out. Scream Team Releasing. I will have links to connect with Ryan and Pumpkin Man and where you can find the movie in the description. Highly recommend checking it out. It is, like I said, it is just a fun 80s throwback film. Get some friends together to watch it. I always find that to be the best, is if you can get some friends to watch this. You can also look up some of the short films for the Pumpkin Man to watch those, as well as the one kind of right before this, the Pumpkin Man Demon of Fall, kind of sets up that new lore of where we go with the Pumpkin Man in this feature film. Well, that will do it for another chapter of Old Man Brad. Just make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of these. I'll be back later this week with a brand new Tales from Tubi, so you won't want to miss that. I have more great episodes in the works, so just subscribe and you won't miss them. And remember, Tuesdays aren't just for tacos. We'll talk to you later, everybody.